What's going on, guys? It's Schmeat, and today we'll be reacting to SportsLogically's Is It Time for the Lamelo Ball Era in Charlotte? And let's get right into it.
Welcome back, everybody. My name is Tucker, and in today's video, I want to talk about Lamelo Ball, a player that has had some interesting moments to this point in the season. He's a guy that I personally advocated to be the #1 overall pick in the draft because I felt like the upside potential of him was better than any other player in the class, and the best version of Lamelo Ball is better than the best version of anybody else in this class, and he possessed an elite skill, which was his passing ability that nobody else in the class had. And it's, it's a weaker class, it's a weirder class, but everybody was excited to kind of see what Lamelo was eventually going to do in the NBA. And I know it's early, I know the season just started, I know he's a rookie, I know he's young, but I think I've seen enough. I think I'm ready now.
As a Hornets fan, I don't think I've seen enough yet through 10 games. I don't think you can judge a player
Now to start thinking about ways that the Hornets can be building around Lamelo Ball, because he's just 19 years old, but there's a feel for the game that is so clearly there. And it's a little bit rough around the edges sometimes, right? Because his experience with professional high-level basketball, or even just high-level organized basketball in general, is not a lot, right? And it's been a very odd journey, but you can see just even game by game by game, this guy is figuring it out. And first of all, can we just go ahead and get this part out of the way? Can the Hornets go ahead and start this guy and really start, developing?
Facts, bro. Facts. Devontae Graham does not deserve to start. Yeah. If you just look at their stats, it tells you everything.
Their team around what he does. I know that they have other good guards and perimeter players, right? They've got Rozier, Graham, who has not been good at all this year. Gordon Hayward has been good, but obviously he's not a guard. He's more of a wing player. But I don't understand why Lamelo Ball is not being prioritized more on this roster. So let's go ahead and get that out of the way. But also, I think I'm ready. I think I'm ready to talk about how this team can build around Lamelo moving forward, because I don't know if he's going to be like this all-NBA guy. I don't know if he's going to be this top-level special player, but I do know that out of all the players currently on their roster, he's the guy that they need to be building around. They need to be building a team around what he does best, catering towards the skills that he currently has, as well as the skills that he will continue to develop down the road, because that passing ability and that feel for the game is obviously there, in addition to the great size that he brings to the table as well. Now, the scoring stuff, specifically as a rookie, is going to be very, very up and down. That's the way it's going to be, right? His shot still needs to improve, still trying to figure out ways that he can get to the rim and finish, working on the in-between stuff. There's some things that he does well, relatively good floaters in the lane and stuff like that. He's been shooting the ball well from three, but I don't know if that's going to continue throughout an entire season. So, like I said, there's some things that are rough around the edges, but I don't see any reason for the Hornets to not go ahead and start building around this guy. And we'll see, what he does for the rest of the year.
First thing, we need a center. We can't stick with Cody Zeller and Bismack Biyombo, and I think everybody knows that. We could get someone at the deadline, but yeah, I think we need a center.
Turnover, shooting-wise, and everything else. But this team has options. Despite the fact that they just brought in Gordon Hayward on this massive contract, they do have options moving forward in terms of how to build around Lamelo Ball and build the rest of this roster moving forward. The first of which, and the one that is the most exciting to me, is the possibility of 2021 free agency, because what we've learned about the Hornets is that...
Yeah, but I don't think anybody wants to go to the Hornets in free agency. We're a small market team, and I don't think anybody likes the idea of going to the Charlotte Hornets right now.
A, they're going to need to pay big numbers to bring in big-time players in free agency, aka the Gordon Hayward contract, and B, they are willing to do that. And we can talk about whether the Hayward contract will be a mistake a few years down the road from now, but I think specifically for
if you take Gordon Hayward's contract, we're paying $28 million to him. That just gives you an estimate of how much we got to pay for a guy that's even better than him.
Providing them a higher level of competence for this season. He's been good for them so far, and they have the opportunity to do a similar thing in the upcoming offseason. Now, the ideal circumstance here would be someone like Victor Oladipo, that is a perimeter player that can create and can facilitate, but also provides a really good level of defense, as well as a two-way player, and isn't incredibly ball dominant. Now, the issue with that is obviously the timeline of working, alongside Lamelo, and then by the time Lamelo is in his prime, Oladipo would be too old. But it's going to be tough to bring in a 25-year-old that really, really works with this roster in free agency. So,
damn, I'm just looking at this spreadsheet. I don't think we're going to sign Malik Monk unless it's to a minimum deal. we're going to lose him. I don't think we're going to be stupid enough to bring back Cody Zeller. Bismack's could be back on a minimum deal, but I mean there is going to be changes after this season.
That could certainly be an option for them as they go into the summer of 2021 and they're like, okay, we want to, we've got Hayward, we've got Lamelo, we want to go ahead and grab someone else that's really going to work for this group. I think Oladipo could be an option if either Indiana doesn't want to bring him back for whatever reason, or they don't want to bring him back on a full max, but the Hornets offer him a full max. They have the opportunity to do that with the cap space they have in 2021. That would be an interesting option. There are other options in the summer of 2021 that might seem, a little bit strange given how hyped up that class was initially. But there are some other options for them where they can go and get one or two guys that can shoot and can defend and can really build around, Lamelo, and then obviously Hayward. Maybe they can even go out and get a big instead of Zeller if they wanted to do that. But regardless, I think the focus needs to be around Lamelo. Now, the other option here, and they can do this right now, they don't even have to wait until the offseason, is to go and get another big-time player alongside Lamelo by using some of the other assets that they have on this group. Ideally, honestly, either Rozier or Graham, hopefully Graham, gets moved at some point this season because...
I agree with that. I have been pushing for Graham to get traded because I think Terry is good enough to be the point guard, and we need Lamelo to start anyways. So I think Terry would be a good person to trade. I don't know what his trade value is right now because he's only averaging 12 points a game, but I don't know what we could get in return for him, but I'd like to trade him as well.
He needs a new contract at the end of the season. He's not playing particularly well. It's a very weird situation to kind of figure out his value, and Rozier at least will be a valuable player and an expiring contract next season. So the ideal situation here, if you're not looking at 2021 free agency stuff specifically and only, would be to move someone like Graham and maybe even Rozier or Zeller or whoever, and go and get another player on the wing or as a two guard that really works well with what Lamelo does, and again, can defend and can shoot. And then you go into the summer of 2021 and you've still got some free agency options there depending on the contract of the player that you bring in. I'm not advocating for like a Bradley Beal trade here. I'm just talking about, going to get somebody that would help this roster and would kind of, get rid of the logjam a little bit that they do have in the backcourt between Ball, Rozier, and Graham. Now, the other benefit to this as well is they'll still have their 2021 draft pick, but they're not, in my opinion at least, it doesn't seem like it's going to be a super, super high pick. It's going to be somewhere in like the 8 to 12 range because this is actually like a relatively good team. They're not great, but they're decent enough to not be like in the top three, and unless they get crazy lottery luck, it's going to be tough to get a huge high impact player in this draft the way that they're going to need to really elevate themselves, during this whole prime for Lamelo. So their options are pretty similar to what other teams are doing, and really this video is about advocating for them to go ahead and start thinking about what their future is going to look like with LaMelo Ball, and look at that 2021 free agency option, look at trade options now, and look at possible draft options in 2021 as well. Because this guy is exciting, man. Like I was certainly nervous after I talked him up a little bit, and I was like, you know what? I don't know how all this stuff is going to translate. I don't know if he...
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to predict a person who didn't play in college against other NBA-ready players. So it was hard to predict LaMelo's success in the NBA, and I still think it's up in the air. But I mean, he just had a triple-double, so I mean, it's going well.
He's going to be able to deal with, the bright lights of the NBA and just being, part of the Ball family. Like, I didn't know how all that stuff was going to translate, but I knew, what I saw in the basketball court, and what I saw was someone that has incredible talent, that is a really good passer, that people are ideally going to really want to play with. And as long as the, the off the court stuff translated and the scoring stuff translated, he was going to be fine. And again, it's just something about his feel for the game that really fits and meshes well with what the NBA does. And if you're going to put LaMelo Ball on a ton of ball screens, and he's going to attack and he's going to make the right play.
Well, I mean, he's a 6'8" point guard, so I mean, he does fit the NBA pretty well.
A lot of the time. That can be, assuming he figures out the shooting stuff and the turnover stuff, that can be the start of a really, really good NBA offense. In addition to the fact that he does have good enough size to, if he wants to and put in the effort to, be a really good defender down the road as well. I don't know if that's ever going to happen, but it's not like you're building around a 6'1" guard. Like, this guy has great size. He can handle, he can pass. He's working on the shooting. He's working on the turnovers. And it's an exciting thing to have there in Charlotte. He hasn't necessarily been the most impressive rookie. I've been a little bit surprised, about guys like Wiseman and Edwards and Halliburton as well in Sacramento, who definitely needs his own video at some point. But
Tyrese Halliburton is a dog, man. He's good.
I think it's time, based off the roster needs, based off the other players they have on the roster, I think it's time for Charlotte to say, you know what? LaMelo Ball is the guy. Let's go ahead and get some players around him. And those are some of the options that they're going to have here moving forward, whether it be free agency, trades, or otherwise here for building around LaMelo Ball in Charlotte over the next couple of seasons. But that is going to be the end of today's video, and I thank you all very much for watching. Once again, my name is Tucker.
All right, guys, that will be it. Thanks for watching another video, and I'll see you guys in a future video. Later.